A quarter of these children's lives has passed under lockdown laws. Boris Johnson was visiting a West London nursery just as the government was extending those laws, and just after he'd rattled parts of the hospitality industry by raising the prospect of people requiring COVID certificates or passports to prove vaccination or a negative COVID test before getting access to a pub.
The practicalities of it, having someone on the door policing people, it's going to, cause a lot of aggravation. I would imagine there'll be a lot of people will be very quick to have fake evidence. I just can't see how it would work.
Did you see me on TV, Joshua? Was I explaining about the virus?
Boris Johnson today said such checks could be some way off.
You've got to be careful about how you do this, and you might need to. You might only be able to implement a thoroughgoing vaccination passport scheme, even if you wanted such a thing, in the context of when absolutely everybody had been offered a vaccine.
After months of denial, now indeed it will be the case that you will have to provide your vaccination bona fides when you go to the pub. And those people who are teetotal imagine that they might be spared that intrusion and inconvenience can dream on, because undoubtedly this will be extended to restaurants, theatres, sporting venues.
He was one of 35 Tory rebels who voted against the government extending lockdown powers by 6 months. Tory rebels argued that the success of the vaccination programme meant the laws should be discarded now.
76.
In Brussels, European Council President Charles Michel was chairing an online summit dominated by the failures of the EU's own vaccine programme and the Commission's demand for export control powers over vaccines. Before the summit started, some European leaders gave a taste of the angst that would dominate their discussions online.
Et donc, là-dessus, on a sans doute, en quelque sorte, moins rêvé aux étoiles que certains autres. Et je pense que ça doit être une leçon pour nous-mêmes. On a eu tort de manquer d'ambition. J'allais dire de folie, oui, de dire c'est possible et on y va.
Und ich gehe sogar so weit, dass ich glaube, dass wenn es hier keine Lösung gibt, dass das einen Schaden für die Europäische Union auslösen könnte, wie wir es schon lange nicht erlebt haben.
The Commission's demand that the EU take powers to block vaccine exports to the UK has alarmed some EU leaders and was condemned as a stupid vaccine war by the last European Commission President, Jean-Claude Juncker.
The scale is incredible, right? 5,000 doses every minute. Yes, right?
Vaccine wars intensified at the Serum Institute of India, expected to produce 1 billion vaccine doses in coming months, many of them destined for poorer countries. Today, the Indian government has effectively imposed a ban on exports because of concerns about its own domestic vaccine supply.
On a global level, I think this is deeply terrifying. And policymakers across the world are going to worry about how they get vaccines to the most vulnerable citizens. It's the poorest parts of the world and the world's most vulnerable populations that are really going to struggle based on this Indian export ban.
This government's successes on vaccine rollout were cited by many Tory rebels as the reason for voting against the renewal of lockdown laws. Labour votes helped Boris Johnson win. The Health Secretary, pressed to promise this would be the last vote of its kind, couldn't be sure.